Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Ravakalusu greeting you in the morning on a Tuesday. I was struck by something came to me yesterday. Uh, is the life becoming more mechanical versus being organic? That was the question. And of course, we all know that everything is being mechanized and people are really being mechanical without them really doing anything about it. And life has become like that most of the corners of the world. And that we all always know about it and feel it intuitively, right? But then, what does the mechanical mean? What does organic mean? See, mechanical is where you're doing things without any involvement, without any feeling about it, without enjoying things, and you kind of become everything is mechanical because you are getting up and doing it, and without really getting your essence into your joy into it, into your emotional um, really involved, right? That is something meaningful, something satisfactory after you do and all that. Okay, why did the life become mechanical is I think mostly we became very mechanical in your thinking and in our feeling and really approaching life as though everything is mechanical and your relationships are mechanical, our study has become mechanical, everything has become mechanical, right? Even raising the kids have become mechanical. They come, they grow, and they go out. you know they're using a house more like a conduit to pass through rather than there was lineage, there was elders, there was traditions, there were something involved with the family, involved with the sake of the family's honor. All those things they used to be old fashioned now, right? So everybody is individualistic. Everybody is just for themselves, and everybody is like what is important is for me to live my myself, and whatever means that come, and they are okay. I'm not being morally judgmental. I'm just making a comment, an observation that life has become mechanical. You know, how can we make it organic in the sense I'm a human being? These things are value for me. This is what makes meaning for me. This is what it makes me rhyme with it. It makes me really sync with it, and then really feel like I'm alive. I'm contributing. I'm enjoying this life, and this earth, this sun, this beauty that is around me. I'm involved in that. I feel it. I kind of experience it. That kind of organically present. Are we having that kind of work? Are we having that kind of experience in whatever we do? Are we having that kind of joy pervading all our activities, our relationships? That is the question that I always had it. And then if you look at it without really being judgmental, you can observe that is going on. People may have a radio going on and it was going on for 24 hours, but at the end of that it doesn't seem to have made any difference in their fundamental mechanical living. People gather information, people gather a lot of entertainment stuff, but at the end of it, are they fulfilled? Do they feel like they have done something very very valuable? That kind of thing. So if you can look at that way, one thing comes to mind is, do we have a simple life or more more expanding complex life outside? Even though we have all the tools to make it supposed to be make it simple, but they seem to be complex in nature. Take for example telephone. When 80s and all that, marble was not split, and there was only one phone, and the phone conversations and phone uh, spending time on the phone was limited, and was also more like everybody knew that the phone will work no matter whatever happens to the house and everything else. The phone used to work, you know, and the prices and all those things are also simpler. If you want to spend a lot of money, you can call long distance and do all that. And then they kind of opened it up. They kind of got this innumerable conveniences, they say, about the phone. But then the phone talking has become an addiction to the kids. Phone talking is the only one that they have rather than converse with other people. They cannot even converse with each other, and they cannot build a relationship with each other. So you see what I mean? By expanding outward complexity, we are not really helping inward. We are rather being the victims of that external expansion, and then we kind of go to retreats. We're going to go to other spiritual gurus and learn all these things to really make ourselves calmer, quieter inside. Outward atmosphere we can easily change, but can you change the inward atmosphere that easily after that? you know that kind of thing. So if you can really put some thought into it, you will see that life, and human life especially, has become very mechanical. And to really have this organically human being experience, you got to make an effort. You got to search for it. You have to search for it like an oasis in a desert. Very few institutions are really organically oriented towards what their experience, organically really feeling like we are here to do a cause. We are here that we are really inspired by the leader or the leadership, and we're inspired by their, what they are standing for, what kind of values they bring, what kind of activities that they are doing, like helps everybody or helps the planet and all the people, all the living beings, that kind of thing. That may be dismissed as altruistic. So, for example, this morning I was talking about on Wisdom app with some of my friends. I was talking about, can we be silent? There was something like a being silent and conveying a lot more through the silence from the sages, I believe. So they had this mind that is stationary, that is really full of wisdom, and that's why it was kind of quiet. It doesn't have any interfering thoughts. So with that concentrated here and now energy they portrayed, and that made everybody around them silent too. So he was sitting there silent, but he was having a very strong mind, not being affected by any of the stimuli. And then you go in the presence, that aura, that kind of force that emanating from them made them very silent, I believe. So, and these people were regarded as the highest sages and all that. We don't have to be that, but can we have moment of silence? Can we work with a mind that's not going all over, but that is focused on the work? Can we spend some time with the loved ones where they listen and you listen? That kind of organic experience of relationship where you are nurtured by each other, or just being happy to be in the presence of your friend, and just spending time because you feel like you're comfortable in that presence, because they're not constantly judging you, or they're not constantly projecting you to be, you have to be like this, otherwise I won't accept. None of that. They just, you be, and you be yourself, and you let them be themselves, and then you are comfortable. That means you are not allowing your thoughts go all over, right? Is that not something that we want organic experience? And there you say, okay, this friend is important, this time is important. When I go to them, I will contact with them internally, and then I will exchange friendship, or feeling of love, or feeling of affability, any of that. So that is where we need to focus on. Are we being mechanical, or are we having organic experience with our life? So if you look at that way, it seems to me how we use our thought, that becomes the important thing. Use the thought for external things. You want to go somewhere, you need the thought to direct you. You got a destination, you got to travel, you have to take this train or bus and all that, you go there. Fine. But when you turn the same thing against people, analyzing them, assessing them, taking opinion on them, and acting on that, I think that may be what is making us more mechanical. You know, so how can we really appreciate that? With the people. That is where people are uh, really becoming more and more mechanical inside. And it's not about talking too much. It's not about um, being opinionated. That's not what it is. It is like being a human being and a being. Um, what is the interruption there? It is the movement of thought. Instead, you allow your feeling of fellow human being, a fellow brother, whatever, and then you feel like you have accepted people at their core, and then you operate from there. Okay, so that's what I feel that we should be focusing on. Why we are becoming more mechanical inside? Is it because of too much of thought? Examine that, find out for yourself, and then your thought being silent inside, and you are doing stuff outside that is really involved completely in flow state. I think you will have a better work results, and also you'll have better acceptance of the people around you, and you will be a joy to be with, and you'll be a pleasant person to be with, and people will love to be associated with you and really work with you too. So let us strive to be more organic in our day-to-day life, and see the mechanical doesn't intrude and dominate us. Okay, I hope I'm not being too much esoteric, um, but basically I'm talking about being more humane, come down to being human being, you know, not this erudite, scholarly, very rich in intellect, but no heart, and really stayed away from the heart. So it's like bringing your mind back into the heart and operating with a heartful, existence, and that is really nurturing everybody, you and everybody around you. You know. So, uh, with that, I would welcome people to come up, and if you want to contribute, I would be more than happy to listen to you on this topic. I'm open on the Wisdom and Instagram. Other channels are streaming, but there's no way you can come up on there. But you can come up on these two channels if you want to. If somebody wants to come up on the Instagram, let me see whether I can bring them. I did invite. Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm all right. I'm enjoying your conversation
Yeah,
because I try so hard to just sit with what is
yeah,
and feel it.
yeah,
That is what I try and do.
yeah,
So I appreciate what you're saying. And the mechanics of things can be so cold.
yeah,
I think that if I work in like a mechanical way, i.e., my job,
yeah,
I'm not going to give it my best, and the people that I look after are not going to
exactly,
receive the best.
exactly, yeah,
And to be fair, thinking about someone else is always nice. So if they receive the best, the results are fantastic, and it rewards us both
yeah,
because they become well.
yeah,
They believe in themselves. it fills them up with love, and then they mend. And when I watch them mend, it fills me up. So
Yeah,
it's great to work in that way where you are really almost a dedication of yourself
yeah,
from the heart. Yeah,
exactly,
I love that.
exactly, because it is the uh, constant chatter that we have that makes us more mechanical. But if we
Yeah,
put the heart into it, then it becomes such an experience, right? And you feel good. And then even watching people who are doing it is really enriching, like you were saying, you know. So just watch them, as people who are putting their heart into the job and then doing it coolly, that really fills us. Yeah, sure.
yeah. It inspires us,
Yeah,
and it's just so it makes the place a better place that people
yeah.
be more in touch with that more organic self.
No doubt about it, because it feeds on itself. Then you say, yeah, why are we coming here? We want to give a hand to the burden that was going on, and then we all feel we're carrying that and that mission, that camaraderie in putting our hands together. All those things come up there. Yeah, very good.
It makes a great team as well. It makes a
Exactly,
great team.
exactly. That a great
Congratulate
team,
each other.
great spending together, sharing together, and that really elevates the place. And actually, some of the companies are trying to nurture that. They have this team. I think I heard in one of the house rooms, they were engaged to really see the leaders are servant leaders, and the whole thing is designed to a bigger purpose than individual. And people are really attracted to that kind of atmosphere, and they're
Yeah,
ensuring that they are doing the proper things. I thought that was a good movement that company is doing.
yeah. But it creates prosperity in
Yeah,
the soul and in everything else.
exactly.
If you give that atmosphere, it's my
Hmm.
cat. Look,
Got
if you give that atmosphere,
yeah,
it is welcoming and inviting.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
So it creates even better from in my particular sort of circumstance.
Yeah,
It makes me want to go to work.
yeah.
It makes me want to be there. It's a
you,
great place to be.
that
So
is a good
that's
point.
why they're in front of it. Yeah,
That's a good point you made. It makes you to go to work. You see, the resignations that going on around the US in a massive number, and that is, I believe, that's because people felt they were not cared for, they were not given importance, they were not allowed to develop themselves personally or with other relationships. The issue was more like neglected, and they feel when they found themselves having some time during the pandemic, they realized that we're going and working
yeah,
mechanically there, and we are losing ourselves and our relationship and what is meaningful for us. And where these people are filling the coffers, and at our expense. People realize
yeah,
that. I believe that's a great big reason why they want to be on their own, even with the minimal resources. They want to be happy inside, and then they want to have good relationship with the family and spend time with the children and that kind of thing. I think they become more important. They realize that is all the way time they were important for them. So, and then with the internet revolution, this entrepreneurship on the internet, people are trying to make money that way, so that they are liberated from this cogwheel culture. Mechanical cognition.
yes,
Yeah. Very nice.
yes.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yes.
Thank you so
Thank-
much, Dr. I love listening to you. You
yeah.
encourage me to be my very best. So
Sure. Sure,
thank you
Jolly.
for that.
Okay. Thanks for coming up. And
You're
I.
welcome.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Bye.
I'll continue listening to you, Dr. Rao,
Yeah.
because I do really appreciate
Okay. Thank
your
you. Thank you, Jolly.
conversations. And
Yeah.
sometimes you're right, it's good to be silent.
Yeah. Yeah. That's. I think actually, once you are silent, you taste it. There is a joy in being blissfully silent, then outward pressures don't seem to have that much sway in you. You can have them once in a
Yeah,
while, but just keeping quiet and closing, and then really getting in touch with yourself and going with that to the work, I think that's what we wonderful. you know.
It is. It is. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye bye, Jelly.
Bye.
Bye. That was Julie. I think she was wonderful. She's brought up so many good points, like how they can be meaningful in work, how they can be very, very happy at work when you are in touch with yourself and organic self, and then go and work, but not mechanically. You work with meaning. Any day, I think you can get it better if you are not monotonous, if you are not making stuff boring. Even if you are doing assembly, you can say, okay, I have done this many this hour. How can I improve one more for the next hour? Like that, you can make challenges among the mechanical work and then make it more meaningful for you, more engaging for you. Suppose you are doing all of that for the sake of something nobler purpose, and that makes it much more meaningful too. Actually, the ancients talked about this in four ways. You can be righteous in whatever earning money or doing anything, and also in your fulfilling desires. But they will go only so far to be fulfilled. So you cannot be just by being righteous or just by earning money or anything you want to accumulate and your fulfillment desires. All these three ways are limited. But there is another way where you can really go beyond the limitations of your mind, which makes the life mechanical, constant, same routine thinking, but go beyond the thinking and get liberated that way from your own mind, and that becomes a real big deal, and that's a forever fulfillment. They always talked about it. So you can take the work as a given to you by the Lord for the sake of other people, so you are serving that. You are serving the other people. That means you are serving the creation of the Lord. Thereby, you are serving the Lord. That kind of thinking was brought into the life where they were not profit oriented, but they were more quality oriented and delivering the meaning oriented. Then you will do work, but you do with meaning that is meaningful for you, and then it's a meaning in the sense of good for the larger dimension rather than just your individual dimension. Not being selfish, but being selfless, and then really thinking of people outside of your own self centered activities and all that. So, if you can bring that kind of attitude where I'm going to work for the institution, I'm going to work for the country, I'm going to work for the planet, that kind of bigger than yourself, I think that becomes very, very meaningful. I think everybody experience. We enjoy when we give voluntarily to somebody, work in a place where people are to be fed, or a place where in the hospital you want to give trace to the patients. I saw all those volunteers. They're filled with joy. They are retired and they don't have anything else, but they are happy to serve the patients every day. And they were very, very happy because they don't have any selfish need, but they were more like a giving themselves up to in a small way, random act of kindness, gratitude for what they have, and being happy with what they have, that kind of thing. I'm not preaching communism or anything like that. I'm preaching about individual satisfaction, individual meaning in doing our things. That will be very organical experience when it comes from your heart. Okay, so we can do a lot or we can do a little, but do it with heart. That is what I was talking about. I hope this all made some sense to you, and then we can examine ourselves to see, are we mechanical, are we organic? Once we are organically oriented, organically means coming from within you with your heart, that has the meaning, that has some purpose, that has some uh, really fulfillment, that you kind of get out of that, and you feel out of that. It's not accumulating the things and then feeding the ego, but it is like doing stuff with the intention of helping other people. And that kind of organical existence makes more sense for a human being than the animals, right? So let's be human beings. And with that, I will close this session. If anybody wants to come up on the wisdom, I'll give a second. Otherwise, I will be closing the session. Okay. Um, I think there are people on the wisdom. Uh, yeah, I see so many people there. But if they want to come up, I'm more than happy to engage. Graciela is there, so and Marcella is there, Daryl is there. So anybody wants to come up, we can examine that. Not with the attack of Western civilization or anything. Whole thing has become war now. You know, everywhere you go, this commercial activity eroding the cultures that were there for centuries. A recent example was Bhutan. Their culture was more based on the Buddhism, so they dressed all of them the same, and they want to be seen for what they are inside, and they are basically contented. That is what the Buddhism preaches. Be content with whatever you have, and they didn't have this internet and all the things that are associated with that, right? So they were kind of boxed in their own cultural simplicity externally, with only one single garment, and then covering the body properly, and then being rich inside with the contentment and happiness they already have, and not to have this struggle, not to have feeling of not having this many material things and being poor and all that, right? So they were doing very well up until then. They've had very little chronic disease, psychological addictions and all that. And then kingdom decides to open up the Western culture to come in, basically allows the internet and all of that, because they were anticipating some revenue for that. And then all the problems of violence, the sex, or the addictions, and the chronic disease have come up, and people have noticed the significant deterioration in this human as culturally, and then they were struggling now to say national happiness index they have, a gross happiness index they call it, and then they want to balance their own culture with this. They're struggling with that. But the power of this external commercialism, consumerism, and all the pleasure oriented societies have dominated these ancient cultures, and they submerged them. Now we're trying to look back to the ancient cultures to learn about meditation, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, Tao, Brahmana, all those things. We're trying to visit them so that this modern culture can have some relief from the stress that the modern life is producing. I have no qualms about that, because I live in United States, but I live simply. But I also want to serve the people. That's why I get engaged in these activities, which gives me a lot of happiness. And then I'm involved in being simple outward life and richer inward life. The more I have these elevated thoughts, the more I have explanation about human psyche, human being, and the more I go into them, investigating with my mind. All the problems are solved within the mind, and the mind is peaceful and blissful. So you can stay in this blissful, peaceful happiness, or conscious being, and use your mind and body as the tools. That is the philosophy that is really giving me peace of mind, even though externally you may not see the so-called success everybody talks about. It doesn't bother you because you're already fulfilled. But then you can relate to other people, and understand things together, and share things together, and be there, not to influence and impose anything on them, but to just to explore and present your viewpoint, and see what the viewpoint they are coming from. The measure is this: are you peaceful within? Are you joyful within yourself and with your loved ones? Are you really having camaraderie where you accept anybody with different views from you, and you are okay, and they are okay. So, with that, I will probably end it here. And I hope everybody uh, understood what I'm talking about, how to be humane being. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye. Okay, everybody on the Instagram. Firstly,